I don't think you understood what we needed to do. I mean...
What do you mean? I made the stretches. It's like the second Elliot. It's funny, they all... I don't know why no one laughed, because it's
yeah, well, it's funny for you.
In 2022, I downloaded a virus called Blender. You might have heard of it. It's this open source 3D design program that sounds harmless at first, but slowly infects your brain, forcing you to stop everything else in your life to focus on learning how to make a donut. After a few months of battling this virus, I designed 100 posters in 100 minutes, the only cure, and was left with only memories of my journey. A dormant Instagram page, a single progress log, and Second Elliot, a 3D clone of myself that feels everything I feel except shame. And I made a promise to myself to never open Blender again, even if my life depended on it. But then I got a special invitation. An email from Gorks and Vex, two of the top artists here on YouTube who both have 4-letter usernames that end with the letter X. Coincidence? I'm not ready to answer that yet. The email detailed a creative challenge posed by the two called #CreatorOdyssey World Stage, where artists from around the world would come to Mexico City to represent their countries with a piece of art inspired by the game of football created with the Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i Aura Edition imagined with Intel, which is a laptop. Because this video is sponsored by Lenovo and Intel, otherwise how would we have the budget? It's a 20-hour flight to Mexico. It sounded like a cool idea. And I'm a cool guy because my username says so. But I couldn't help but feel a little nervous. They want me to push my creativity. I don't even know how much further I can push graphic design. I would simply embarrass myself. I'll just let the real artists do this one. They all do real creative stuff, like VFX, filmmaking, and 3D design in Blender. Did I just say Blender?
Show me to the world, Elliot.
Are we really getting back into Blender?
You're an artist, Elliot. Let me be your canvas.
But I've forgotten everything. How am I meant to remember anything?
Muscle memory, Elliot.
I used it for like 2 months in 2023. How am I meant to remember a single
Control
thing?
A to apply transforms, Elliot. That's all I remember, actually.
Are we really doing this?
Let's do it, mate.
Let's get back into Blender. Now here's what I'm thinking for the render. Football is the theme for all of us artists today, because like art, football is something that people do. If we want to get metaphorical, the game of football is the artistic process, the players are the artists, and the equipment is the Lenovo Yoga, because Lenovo Yoga helps empower artists to supercharge their creative process. Like a football boot, I guess. I didn't come up with this brief. I've got the Lenovo Yoga with me, of course. The thing is absolutely jacked. The specs are great. It's also got a huge 16-inch display with tandem OLED and PureSight Pro, which will allow me to see every detail I'm working on in full color. I started out by modeling the soccer ball, because I figured that this would work great as a warm-up for my 3D skills. Turns out there's a million tutorials on how to make one of these, so this was no issue at all. The fun part was adding a custom design to the ball to give it an extra flair. My vision was to add my little 11-pointed star logo on each of the black tiles, so it would be like a Elliot ball. To do this, I separated the pentagonal and hexagonal faces of the soccer ball before UV unwrapping the pentagons to add my own design. Very, very cool. This is the current state of Second Elliot. He's a bit rough around the edges, quite literally. And if I'm going to present this guy on the world stage, he's going to need some work. I've always wanted to give him a haircut. The one you see now was a low poly alternative for the real mullet I originally modeled. But the hair was too dense and difficult at the time to edit, so the low poly version worked great. But it also looks like shit. You guys barely see the back of his head. It is quite awful to look at. It's quite embarrassing, in fact. I don't know how I was okay with this. If you make a Bezier curve like this in Blender, you can use that curve as like a brush for more curves. And by changing the scale and rotation of the points in these curves and duplicating them around the head of a character, you start to get a beautiful head of hair. This is before, this is after. Wow. Next, I figured it was finally time to give him some clothes, because people keep saying he's naked, even though clothes don't exist in his universe, so the concept of being naked doesn't exist as well, because there's only one state you can be in. A football jersey seemed fitting. I whipped up this design in Photoshop thanks to a mess of blending modes and some lovely time. I also made sure to chuck in an outline of Australia, as well as making the colour scheme the iconic green and gold of Australian national sport. I'm quite a fan of this design. I wanted it to look more like the jerseys that brands have been designing for streetwear in the recent years, rather than an actual playable jersey. So how do you take this design and then make him wear that design? It's a great question. I like you. That's a really good question. The answer is quite simple, but the process I found incredibly annoying. I duplicated some of the faces from Second Elliot's torso and arms around where the jersey would go, and increased the scale a little bit, which is quite an easy process, but like, I hate doing this. This is why he doesn't have clothes or eyelids, honestly. Because like, I avoid doing this at all costs. I don't like the thin thin objects like this, it just bugs me. I added a solidify modifier to give it a bit of depth before making the roughest collar you've ever seen. But honestly, you'll barely be able to see it. His head is that big. UV unwrapping this thing was awful, thanks to some dodgy topology. But we got there in the end, and the jersey was mapped. Look at him in the jersey. He's actually wearing the jersey. He is my talented football player. The final steps of this scene was giving him somewhere to be. I had a vision of him standing on like a grassy hill. So I made one with a plane, an image texture, and some hair particles. Because to make grass in Blender, you essentially make green hair. And it looks really good. Then I used a magic texture node to generate a beautiful sunset scene, to give him some more depth, and add a bit of magic to the scene, because it's a magic texture. And with second Elliott's foot planted firmly on the custom Elliott ball, our scene was complete. Well, that was easier than I thought. So much for the challenge. God. Now I just have to go to Mexico City and show it to all those other artists who have done amazing... It's not good enough. There are only two things I have never done in this life. I have never animated it in Blender, and I have never done a bicycle kick. I have done everything else. When I was 14, I played football for 1 year at high school. And even though I was not very good, I always dreamed of doing a bicycle kick. To me, football is the bicycle kick. It's the pinnacle of human achievement. They even named the bicycle after it. If I could animate second Elliott doing a bicycle kick, I know that would impress Gorks and Vex. This is what the Creator Odyssey World Stage Challenge is all about. They didn't send me this laptop for no reason. I have to take my beautiful boy to the next level. And animation is actually a lot easier than you think, as long as you understand keyframes. Say you want to animate the ball from here to there, okay? You say, hello Blender, I would like on the first frame, the ball to be here, and then on like the 10th frame, the ball to be over there. Yeah? And then Blender goes, okay, and it fills in the gaps for you. So if you wanted to animate a bicycle kick, all you'd have to do is show Blender like the main positions, and it will fill in that like the general journey for you. It's definitely not as easy as it, this was tough. Now at first, I'll admit it, this was way too intimidating. So I looked for shortcuts and I found one by the name of Mixamo, which is a website that is a bunch of pre-made animations that you can apply to your existing character. And Mixamo has a scissor kick, which looks close enough, and I thought I could just gift the animation to second Elliott and it would be done. But Mixamo kept rejecting my model without giving me a reason, even though the original second Elliott worked in there. It could dance and everything. And when I tell you that I lost a whole day and a half to trying to make this shortcut work, that's exactly what happened. I designed a whole new armature and bone structure. I tried to remodel the glasses because I'm 99% sure every issue I had making this animation was due to how awful the joining part of the glasses was, but could never figure out how to fix them. And I uploaded the model again and again and again into Mixamo to no avail. I knew I was capable of animating a bicycle kick, right? Like, it looks complicated, but when you break down the movements, I would be able to get there eventually. But I feared it would look really stiff, right? Like, it doesn't have that natural movement that would make it look impressive. But then I got this Blender plugin called Bone Dynamics Pro, and all my fears washed away. If you take a bone from your model and add bone dynamics to it, that bone will then act naturally while the main animation plays. Look at the way his head bobbles, for example. I just keep the hips. Moving the head is all bone dynamics. Isn't that sick? And that clip alone was enough for me to go all in on the bicycle kick. I'd key the main movements and then bone dynamics would do the rest. Too easy. And the Intel Core Ultra processor in the laptop kept things running smooth as well, which was great to know that the Lenovo Yoga would keep up with my vision as things became more complex. I downloaded a video of a guy doing a bicycle kick on my phone to use as a reference, and then used the Smart Share Tap to Launch feature to send the video straight to my laptop. And then I basically traced each frame with second Elliott's position. This is how the pros do it, I hear, and it is very fun. I keyed the movement of the kick all the way up to the point of contact between ball and foot, which interestingly is on the way down. The bicycle kick itself is a very interesting movement when you look at it actually. Like, you jump off the kicking foot. The other foot is the first to go up. It's like a 1-2 kind of movement. I just thought it was I thought it was a backflip. Brainwashed my whole life. I had an idea. How cool would it be if at the point of the kick, so when the ball touches the foot, the body turns into like a rag doll, like it snaps into the rag doll, and then he just kind of like falls and like tumbles down the hill. And I figured that just like the Bone Dynamics plugin, there would be like a something I could click somewhere on the frame that I'd go like animate up until here, and then bang, ragdoll done. One-click solution. No, but there was a way to do it. It was just very hard. And this tutorial was very good. I spent a lot of time with this tutorial, but it's definitely not for beginners. And so I'm going to try and explain this all in a much more simplified way that makes sense to me and hopefully makes sense to you as well. First, I had to make a simplified version of the model out of blocks that would be easier to simulate once the physics took over. I then linked second Elliott's body to the blocks so they would follow their movements before making a new armature that I would then link second Elliott's body to as well, so I could like drop the body from it. And I was a bit confused at this part, but like I could basically now drag this armature anywhere, press play, and the body would fall. Things were working the way they were meant to, and I was happy. But sometimes absolutely bizarre things would happen that just destroyed my confidence. The body would drop with gravity 9 times, and the 10th time it would just fly into the air instead. The origin point of each object was all over the place, which is something I know very little about, and was convinced it was messing with the model, because sometimes the ragdoll would just fly towards its origin. And one day he just got really tall. Also, Blender crashed so many times because there was absolutely something horribly wrong in the file, which was most likely the glasses. But I'd never addressed this, and I think that's the proper way to handle crashes in Blender. You just save your file a lot, and pray. But as long as the ragdoll wasn't initially colliding with another object, the effect seemed to work, and it looked so good. I've always aimed for an uncanny valley nature to second Elliot, and I think this animation style aligns with that. He's so weird looking, but he's also really cute, and I love that about him. The next day was a blur. Not gonna lie. I keyed the football to fly in and land in the space above his kicking foot before allowing the foot to like actually kick the ball using all these physics things I'd learned about. But the ball kept losing all momentum and would just pop up, which was funny, but just annoying enough for me to try and fix. After a bit of research, I did this mad runaround solution of making a proxy foot for the original animated model that disappears the frame after the kick so it wouldn't affect the ragdoll. Because if it intersected with the ragdoll, then it would just fly up because you can't like have anything colliding with the ragdoll. I'm making sense. I then added a short floating entrance for second Elliot at the start so I could loop the animation after he fell down the hill into the abyss. And the animation was pretty much done. The final touches were to bake the animation to lock in the physics-based moments, and then I decided to give the animation a bit more color by changing the gradient sky to a bold red. I added some nice lights to the scene and gave the material this soft plastic texture I found on Reddit. Thank you kindly, stranger. I then hit render and let the AI acceleration integrated into the laptop combined with the Intel Core Ultra processor do their thing and make the rendering process nice and easy. And then I was like, I should probably do some kind of graphic design, and so I made it into like this poster. Look, I think it completes it personally. I think the colors really, it helps. It's a poster, but it's not. It's more impressive because it moves. Please enjoy my final animation. You know what? For my first animation, I'm pretty proud. I'm pretty proud of myself, must admit. And there it is, my final piece, ready to show the world on the world stage in front of all these other amazing artists and their talents. I'm not just a graphic designer. It has to be bigger.
First thing you think of is the crowds and like just the sound and the atmosphere, and so
I'm in the VFX process and eventually it's all done, and sometimes I can even look back and be like, I have no idea what I did.
Myself and added myself back on top and moved me a bit upwards so it looked more epic. Yeah.
But I shot it with the 360 camera. That way like I could like animate the camera all around. All right, Shutter, that was insane.
Incredible.
Who's next?
I'll do it.
For the modern
It's not funny. No, I'm being serious. You've all presented some amazing work today. And part of this challenge is about pushing what you do to the limits, right? And I'm a graphic designer. You've all pushed VFX, filmmaking, cinematography to the limits. How do you push graphic design to the limits? You don't. Wheel them out! This is for Australia!
Is that him? So confused. Please, no boom, no cameras, please.
What's up?
Please come. I don't think you understood what we need to do. I mean,
What do you mean? I made the statues. It's like the second Elliot. It's funny. They all. I don't know why no one laughed because it's
yeah, well, it's funny for you. Not we. This is not what we had it
What was the challenge?
to create like a digital artwork. You know,
Digital.
digital like in a computer.
Digital.
Yes, yes.
I thought it said physical.
Oh no.
Because everyone did such good stuff. I really wanted to impress.
Yeah, yeah.
I really wanted to impress, so I brought the thing.
Yeah, that didn't
I
happen.
made an animation.
Digital
It was like
animation.
digital animation. It's my first ever animation. It's not very good.
Can we see it?
I really don't want to show it, man. I really don't. I can't show
Please
it.
understand me, please. Can we see it?
Okay, let's do it.
Thank you. Thank you.
You guys are very talented. Animators, VFX, filmmakers. It's not just this. I made a little animation as well, if you guys want to see that.
Yeah.
It's a little thing. And then it's a little looping animation like that.
I love
It's
it.
like the whole thing. But yeah, I'd never animated before, so it's like the whole thing.
That's insane.
Yeah. So I'd never, yeah. It was
Second Elliot FC.
Gave him a new haircut. Everything, I think the model looks pretty good. And then like that soccer ball, like in like a left hand little star logo and something. It's pretty cool. And the judges did a good deal.
Wow, what an amazing journey. Don't you think so too, Second Elliot?
Yes.
Make sure to check out all the other creators to see what they came up with. They were all really nice to me. Thank you again to Lenovo and Intel for sponsoring this video. And if you'd like to learn more about the laptop I used, then head over to lenovo.com/Lenovo Aura Edition to find out more. As I said. And finally, a huge thank you to the teams at Portal A and The Lift for helping bring this guy to life. I asked if we could make a statue of Second Elliot, and I really thought we'd chat about it and like compromise and make a 3D printed version of him or something, like a miniature thing. No, they straight up made a 5-foot tall fiberglass statue.
Are we bringing him home?
Of course, mate. But his head won't fit through a standard door frame.
So how are you gonna get
I actually
him?
don't want to talk about that right now.